Hello, I'm Bill DeYoung, and welcome again to the Catalyst Sessions. I'm so thrilled that my guest today is actress, writer, comedian, and instructor. A lot of other titles, which we're going to get to. Her name is Andi Matheny, and
Are we taking these off now?
her name is Andi Matheny, and the joke is fun, but it's hot under that damn thing. Hi.
Hi.
It's good to see you again. The studio is what? Have you been here for 10 years now in St. Pete?
Yes, I started teaching October of 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was one night a week in a rented studio space on Central Avenue on the 600 block. With 10 students. That was, like I said, October of 2010, and now 10 years later, we had a record enrollment over the spring session of over 100 adults plus additional kids and teens. So yeah, things are, it grew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Even virtually, I mean, are they still, wow, we like this. I mean, before I met you, I heard all kinds of good things about you anyway. So I could imagine, yeah. This is called the buttering up part of the show.
Which, of course, is what we all need, right?
Yeah, okay,
especially those of us who are, local celebrities need all the buttering up you can possibly.
Yeah, well, that's why I was
dish out.
And thank you for putting up with my stupid math joke there in the beginning. So, virtually, though, you have more than 100 students now, is what you just said.
Well, actually, the spring session. Let me take this back. Okay, winter session. So winter session started in January.
Right.
Winter session, we had to cancel the last week. And for those of you who aren't familiar with my acting studio, so we do 3 sessions a year. We do classes, and then at the end of the session, we do a showcase called Scenorama. So when we shut everything down on March 16th, we canceled that week of classes. We canceled Scenorama. That is still on hold. And then for the spring session, we transitioned to online. Now, all of those 100 people did not follow online for various reasons. Some couldn't make it. Some, the thing about taking classes online is you have to have your little nook in the house, and some people don't have that. So that was inconvenient for some people. However,
they're nookless virtually.
Exactly, yeah. But a good 75% were able to do it. So it was kind of amazing that we were able to make the transition fairly seamlessly, and had a lot of students online, both my classes and Eugenie Bondurant's Meisner classes. So
yes.
We hardly skipped a beat. It was kind of amazing.
How does it translate into, I mean, you're not in the room. I actually think Eugenie talked to me about this a little bit too. I mean, there's nuances you can't see over the Zoom camera. I mean, can your students get the kind of personal attention they need?
Well, interestingly enough, you would think that you would not be able to see the nuances, but in fact, take a look at us now. We're seeing thumbnails at each of our faces in fairly close up.
Yeah.
That's a lot closer up than I can get to students in the studio. So if I see all these thumbnail sketches and I can really zero in on their faces, it's actually even more granular than being in the studio. And again, for actors, that's kind of a cool thing because we are usually framed and filmed like this. So our classes are very much about being on camera, being on a TV show, taping yourself for an audition, and probably even more so than in the studio. So that part of it's been kind of cool.
Okay, well, the obvious question is, once this ends, which it will, folks.
Eventually.
Are you ever going to have people in a room again? Are you going to just always do this? Look what we've learned. How to do this.
I have to say, of course I love the in-person interaction. I love my studio. I have my own studio on First Avenue South.
Yeah.
And I've had it since 2014. However, I have to say, not commuting has been kind of a bonus. When you take a break, I go in the living room and I pet Fred, my one-eyed cat, who you met.
I did. That's right.
My husband's in the other room making dinner. So
nice.
There's been lots of pluses on the other side of, what we've had to adjust to.
One never knows,
Right.
A lot of people will talk about the unseen benefits, I'm hearing a lot of that in different sort of walks of life. Why would I even have to go back to the office? I can do this here. Or I'll go in one day. I was in the office for 3 hours today, and now I'm here,
We're learning a lot. We're learning how to readjust. And like I was telling you before, I have a feeling that we're setting a precedent, and some of these things that we're learning during this precedent, as we keep hearing for the millionth time, these unprecedented times,
Yeah.
we may continue some of the things that we've learned, like it is perfectly okay to work from home, get the same amount of work done, get less cars off the freeway, telecommute, all that kind of stuff, you know? So
And we get to pet the one-eyed cat whenever the hell we want.
unfortunately, not everybody has a one-eyed cat, but I
Yeah.
highly recommend them. They're just great.
I have a minimally brained cat. So, but they're cute. So listen, let's run the clock back here a little bit. You and Tom got here in 2010, as you
Yep.
said. You're a California girl. I mean, you're a California person, right?
Yeah.
And theater. Did you start in theater? I know you're screen, TV, and commercials, and all the wonderful stuff that hopefully I said at the beginning of the show that Andi does. Did you start off as a stage actress? Doing theater in high school or what?
No, I actually didn't do much in high school. I did go to UCLA, and I was a theater major. Even didn't do that much at UCLA either. And my 20s were kind of like scrambling in Los Angeles, just trying to get a toehold in the business, which is very difficult. So at that time, I did a lot of theater.
Yeah.
And then I started to transition to more, TV and film roles. I actually took 10 years off and was a talk show host for 10 years for most of the 90s. A little fun fact.
Tell me the name of that show. I read that somewhere.
There were 4 shows actually. So
there was a game show I know.
There was a semi-quasi game show called Quick Wits that was kind of more like a sketch comedy show that I was the host of. Then there was a show called Essentials, another local St. Pete personality. My co-host was Forbes Riley, so that's how I got to know her. Yeah. And another show called Fit Resort and Spa, which I hosted with Mark Goodman, who was one of the first MTV VJs.
Oh, sure. I remember him.
Right. And
the guy with the black hair.
Huh?
The guy with the dark hair, as opposed to Alan Hunter, who had the blonde hair. Mark Goodman was the guy with the black curly hair.
Yeah. And he and I are still in touch and are still friends.
He was telling him he was the only guy I liked.
I'll tell him, yeah.
Yeah.
He'll love to hear that.
Yeah,
and then my last show, maybe this is the one you're thinking about, kind of it wasn't really a game show, called Friends or Lovers, really terrible relationship show. Should never have made it to the air, but there you have it.
Are there clips of these things out there on YouTube or somewhere to find? I'd love to embarrass you with that. Had I known all of that, so I couldn't even find Good Morning St. Pete, which I want to talk about in a minute. But I'd love to see that old stuff. God, that
right. Well, I'm glad we didn't do the pre-interview, and no, it's not available online. See, most of these TV shows happened before there was even an internet. So as far as the internet is concerned, it didn't even exist, So if any TV took place before the internet, unless it's on TV land, it never happened. So
well, the thing is that you were, let's say, building your foundation. Then
yes.
You don't have to see, who invented the sausage, and we don't see how the sausage was made. All we know now is that the sausage is great. I'm stretching the sausage metaphor a little bit.
The sausage was on TV and then it got canceled. So
yeah, well, the thing is that by the time the internet age arrived, and we have the scenes from Zoe 101 and the other stuff, Zach and Cody, and there was a monk that I didn't see, and I made notes. Hang on. Ugly Betty, okay, all this, lots and lots of stuff that you did. You can see those clips, and you can see them on your reel on your website, folks, if you want to.
Yeah, I have an ancient reel on my website, and every now and then a student or somebody will get in touch and say, "Oh, I saw you nude on Monk the other night," because I was part of this nudist clan that was on Monk. That was actually a really fun episode, and it was great because his character was so grossed out by anything that had to do with flesh, body odor. So it was fun.
Well, my point was though, Andi, I mean, did you always feel like? Did you feel like this is enough, or were you always looking for something bigger and better to come along? I mean, to have a career in that industry, in that town, God, it's competitive, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we're always thinking, if I do enough of these little things and enough of these small parts in these TV shows, I'll get noticed and I'll have my own show one day. Or were you just trying to work?
Well, it's both. I was one of the lucky ones. I was actually able to make my living solely from the entertainment industry. But in order to do that, especially in Los Angeles, I did a bit of everything. So yeah, I did my TV appearances. I did lots of commercials. I did voiceover. I did some voiceover for animation. So yeah, just anything possible, that's what you do. And again, I was able to take all of those elements and piece together a living. But as far as you asking me, is there something more and are you looking for something more? Absolutely. I mean, my goal is still to be, I would love to be a series regular on a good show, not on a bad show, but on a good show. Because
Are there
I think
still good shows out there?
oh my God, there's amazing shows out
I
there
haven't
right
watched
now.
commercial TV in a while, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
With the advent of streaming. I got Disney Plus to watch some dog movie last year, and I haven't taken it off yet.
Yeah, that dog movie. Yeah, by the guy who's sitting in the other room
Yeah,
right
the
now.
thinner guy, right? But
That's Togo, by the way, for those of you who don't know.
Togo,
Togo's on Disney Plus.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, good.
As you know, I really did enjoy Togo, but I listened to your audio reel too, and you know, I must have heard your voice a million times, and it was kind of eye opening, maybe ear opening to me, that these are things that we in the viewing audience sort of take for granted, just these sort of voiceovers.
Sure.
And I can't even remember any of the products right now, so shoot me. But I listened to the whole thing. It's like, oh, I've probably heard you a million times.
Yeah.
You were trying to. How hard is that to do like commercial voiceover work? I mean, do they literally sit there and say, no, give me more inflection on the word and?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. It depends on a session that you're in. So first of all, I kind of fell into voiceover. I was, you know, kind of like in a transition period in my career, and met a friend who was like, oh, you should get into voiceover. So I did. And it was kind of difficult at first to book my first job. But once I did it, they started coming. And yeah, when you're in a session and it's just your voice, and you are working with a room full of maybe 10 producers or people from the ad agency or,
Right.
you know, the client with 10 or, you know, 20 different opinions. Yeah, it can be a long session, you know, but again, you just make it work.
So the sentence is, you know, breathe right nasal strips. They really work. Try them. You can do that 1,000 times. No, try them. Try them. They really, you know, it's really like that. Do they cut and paste sometimes like they do in music?
Sometimes, but they want to get the full take. And by the way, you were very good. You should do that. You should do voiceovers.
Well, okay. So you just want me to sign up and pay tuition. I know.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm always trying to recruit students.
Good job. Good job. Okay. So you're doing this. 10 years ago, you decided you kind of had enough LA. I remember when we did the interview with the Catalyst, which I reread this morning, I was thinking about that. Isn't that kind of, I don't know, contrary to I have a career in LA? Screw it, man. I'm going to Florida. I don't want to live here anymore. Well, let's start here. Direct question. Why did you guys leave LA?
Okay. Yeah, we got that a lot when we first moved here. People would say, where'd you move from? California. Why?
Yeah.
It was always like that. Yeah. We reached a period in Los Angeles. Now this is 2010 in Los Angeles, and the writer's strike had just happened a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
It pretty much decimated my husband's career. I was still booking TV jobs, but there was a trend at that time, and I'm not sure if it's still happening now, but there was a trend where producers had kind of figured out, hey, I'll just make this project under a SAG ultra low budget contract and pay everybody $100 for the day, and you know, clap my hands, and that's the way it's going to be. And I don't know if you've ever lived in Los Angeles, but one cannot live on $100 a day.
No, I have not had the pleasure, but that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
Yeah.
So given those two factors, we thought, okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to get out of Los Angeles. We are going to regroup, which we both did in our separate ways. I did by started teaching acting, and Tom fixed up our house, which was a disaster when we first moved here. And then about 1.5 years later, he wrote his first screenplay since he moved here, called Gifted, and that completely reset his career, got a new agent, the movie got made, it almost shot in Florida. And it didn't because we don't have a film incentive, but don't get me started on that. But
Oh,
still, it was good for
yeah.
him.
No, I know.
Right. And so we both kind of relaunched ourselves. And then for me, I have an agent here in Florida, Tracy Daniele from Brevard Talent Group, and kind of relaunched my career in a way too. And the jobs that I've booked here are better than anything I was asked to read for in Los Angeles. The featured role in the Hallmark movie that I shot last year, the movie that I shot this year called Lady of the Manor, directed by Justin Long and his brother Christian Long, recurring role on The Resident. It's a big, nice, juicy co-star on David Makes Man, which shot in Orlando and is coming back, luckily for all of us in Florida. So the amount and the quality of roles that I've booked since I've moved here has been better. So it's been good on every front. And
That almost seems
counterintuitive.
Yeah, counterintuitive. Wrong.
Yeah.
It's a better word, counterintuitive.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
wait, I'm in Florida, and I know, and I've known musicians and people in film and stuff say, yeah, you can live anywhere you want if there's an airport, But I mean, is that true? I mean, isn't it out of sight, out of mind? You're not out there.
Kind of, sort of. But again, we have a very big industry here in the Southeast because we are just an hour's plane flight away from Atlanta, where there at one time, I'm not sure if it's still true, but there was more production happening in Atlanta than Los Angeles. And that's where I was booking some of these roles. So,
they have film incentives in Georgia.
Huge film incentive in Georgia. And it's annoying because every time I go there and I listen to the radio, oh yes, we just made a record $9 billion from the TV and film industry. They're getting all that money up in Georgia. We are not getting any of it because our legislature will not re-implement our film incentive.
I have a story in the Florida Humanities Council magazine this month about this. And when I originally wrote it, it was so much about incentives and the film in Florida people and my editor kept saying, can you tone it down? And they wanted more film history. She said, leave it in, but just because it was so insane. It was like, to me, it was like, this has killed the film industry in Florida.
It has. I mean, although I have to say, it did, because there was a time when Florida they called it Hollywood East, that there was a lot of production here in Florida. However, even without a film incentive, they're still finding ways to bring production here. Eugenie Bondurant filmed a major feature last summer.
Fear of Rain, it's called.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So she filmed that. Yeah. So there are productions that are filming here. We just could have more if we had a film incentive.
Still, at the same time, I mean, let me cover this for a second, because the same time, though, Fear of Rain, which was, I Saw a Man with Yellow Eyes or something, I think was the original title, but it was written by someone from, Bradenton or something. I mean, it's got a very sort of Florida history, like a lineage. It's not like, ooh, the new X-Men movie, $20 billion, These are smaller films we're talking about.
Well, this is actually Castile Landon, who is amazing. She looks like she's in her 20s. I don't know how old she actually is.
I think she's 15, but yeah, it was Castile. Castile, yeah.
So have you met Castile?
No, but I usually told me about her, yeah.
Right. So she's just like this amazing multi-hyphenate, writes and directs and casts and brings productions to Florida. So that was her project, and she helped cast me in the project that I filmed here, Lady of the Manor. So yeah, we have people like that locally who are content creators and who make things happen. And so for that reason, we're really lucky to be here because we have access to those people. Whereas in Los Angeles, you're like, let me in.
I see.
You have more access here than you would in a larger market.
Tom wrote Gifted here.
Yes.
Is what you said. Now, your husband is Tom Flynn. We should say his last name for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about.
The husband.
The guy in the other room. So I probably asked him about this when I did an interview with him, but did Florida suddenly, the floodgates open to inspiration? Like, wow. I mean, did Florida have anything to do with that being birthed from him?
Yeah, I think for a couple of reasons. So first of all, when you live in Los Angeles, you're on this treadmill. and the treadmill forces you to just be in motion almost 24 hours a day under constant stress of making your nut, and your nut is extremely large in Los Angeles. And so sometimes you are forced to do projects that you really don't have, any passion for, which is kind of the rut that he was in when we were still in Los Angeles. Moving to Florida without that pressure freed him up. And he had this germ of an idea that had been rattling around for a while. And this is now, 2011. We'd been here for over a year. He kept talking about this idea. And I said, great. So here's what you're going to do. You're either going to go away and write the script, or you're going to get a job and work like I do.
Oh God, write the script.
So he had kind of like an ultimatum. And so he went away for 5 weeks to his sister's condo on Ocean Isle Beach in North Carolina, came back with a fully realized script, and, the rest was kind of history.
Let's talk about Togo for the folks who don't know, the 2 or 3 of you who don't know this story, which is an amazing film that premiered on Disney Plus. I can't remember, it was about a year ago, or has it been that long? Last fall, maybe?
So it debuted on Disney Plus in December, right around Christmas.
True story that about the sled dog races in Alaska that I guess inspired the idea to Rod, and it started as a medical rescue.
Yes.
And
yes.
he wrote this, he was commissioned to do it, wasn't he? It wasn't just like, I love this story, I'm writing it. Did they say, well, they reached out to him and said, how about writing this for us? Kind of deal?
Yes, and I think the chain of events there was they had seen Gifted. These are the people at Disney. They had the story. It was actually, interestingly enough, pitched to the president of Disney while he was sitting on a plane, and the woman sitting next to him found out he worked for Disney, said, I have this story for you. And he's like, yeah. And then by the end of the plane ride, he had purchased the rights to the story.
Oh, so that actually works?
It worked that time, thankfully, for us and for everybody else who's seen Togo.
Willem Dafoe is brilliant, and it's a wonderful, it's a great family film, but it's not, and I'll tell you this, having raised 2 kids and watched a lot of Disney movies, it's not cheesy. I mean, Disney's gotten a lot better over the years. Not that they were slouches or anything, but it's very good. And kudos to Tom for that. What's he doing now? I mean, hey, what are you doing now? I mean, he's making dinner now.
He's slaving away over a hot stove now. He has a couple of things in the works, and I'm not sure if I can talk about them.
Sure.
But he does have a TV pilot in the works, and we're kind of waiting to hear about that. And, he gets contacted to, pitch stories for different films here or there. Nothing has really solidified yet, but he's got some irons in the fire. Okay. As well as cooking me dinner.
Another iron in another fire. One thing I was wondering about, and we kind of touched on this before, when you came to St. Petersburg in 2010, was teaching already on your, wish list or your short list or your anything list? Or did it was like, I got to find something to do? I mean, where did that come from? Had you done it before?
I had kind of done it when I was still in Los Angeles, but it would have been absolutely impossible for me to, not impossible, nothing's impossible. But for example, a really good friend of mine is a Tony nominee, and she had tried to start an acting class and couldn't. There are so many acting classes in Los Angeles. So that becomes a 24-hour job just to get your information and name out there. Sure. So when I moved to Florida, it was always kind of like in the back of my mind that I'd like to teach acting at some point. And again, that fell in my lap when I met this local actress. She had a callback, she had an audition for a show that was filming in Miami. This is 10 years ago. And I coached her, and she was like, oh my God, that was great. You need to start a class. And I was like, great, help me. And she did. And, that's kind of how that got rolling. Like I said, my first class was very small, but little by little, as the local agents started to hear about me, and when they sent their clients to me, they saw the results. And it was just word of mouth of, how people found out about my classes.
So the Andi Matheny acting studio has been kind of a success.
Kind of, yeah.
What I mean is, over 10 years, it's gotten bigger and better and attractive.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I never planned this. I thought, okay, I'm going to do this as a sideline. It'll be fun, and then I'll do other stuff. But it kind of became a thing. I mean, I am now a small business owner. I have this studio, and I have classes, and I administrate, and I herd kitty cats, like, sending emails to 100 people, I mean, it's like a whole deal. So yeah, I wear lots of hats, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been unexpected and fantastic. The best thing that's ever happened to me.
Going back to the thing you were saying about how you're doing this, like teaching on Zoom, right? Um, I'm just this peripheral just popped into my head. When you're coaching someone like this, what are their misconceptions about what they're doing? What are the things you see that you what is it? Hold your eyes. Don't, you know, what are some common things that early students sort of think they either have to do or just don't get?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's actually been kind of like the foundation of what I teach, because here's the thing about being an acting teacher in St. Petersburg, Florida, as opposed to New York or Los Angeles. When you're an acting teacher in one of those major markets, 99% of the students that walk into your classroom have had some sort of previous experience. And so you're not dealing with somebody who's completely new. Here in St. Petersburg, my first class, as an example, I would say over half of the students had never even seen a script. So their only experience of acting was, you know, maybe watching Gilligan's Island or, you know, NCIS or whatever.
Two of my favorites, Andy. Two of my favorites.
But that was really difficult for them to translate that to being in a class, holding a script. Now, what do I do?
Yeah.
So what early on, the thing that I have to teach people, or more accurately reteach people, is to become a human being. Because, you know, you and I are talking, it's loosey-goosey, we're being very spontaneous, we're both being human beings, we're living our life right now, having a conversation. You get a new student who forgets that, and all of a sudden they become robotic, and, you know, like I was just talking to a charming person 30 seconds ago, where did that person go? You know, so what I do in my class is I have lots of exercises, especially for the new students, that reteaches them the muscle memory of, this is what I'm like when I'm just hanging out in my kitchen.
Wow.
And that is 90% of television acting, frankly.
So in other words, it's pretending to be normal when you don't feel normal at all.
Right. And not even pretending, just being. You know, just,
yeah, okay, making it, exuding it, I guess, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we are in artificial circumstances when we're on a set and there's a camera rolling and there's a director and then there's a crew guy eating a donut that you see out of the periphery of your eye, you know. But it's just about, okay, now in my world, I am just going to behave as I behave in my own kitchen or in my own office space, you know. And that is, it's not as difficult as people think, but also not as easy as you might think as well. So it's kind of like right there in the middle.
Do you find people sort of think, oh, you know, oh, I must be good. I must be a method actor because I can just be myself. Do you have to like tone people down sometimes? They think they're hot shit and you got to go, wait a minute, let's relearn some things here.
Well, you know, everybody comes to the party wearing their own, you know, bringing their own essence to the party, right? I have my essence, you have your essence, guy over here has his essence, gal over there has her essence. And so this guy might be an introvert. This gal may have done lots of community theater and is very big. So everybody has to kind of learn their own energy and how that fits into, again, more of the types of tones that we see on television. So I think it's like it's almost like a personal trainer. I see every individual and I see what they need personally to bring their essence to the level that we see on television and kind of take it from there. So yes, some people need toning down, some people need bringing up, you know?
Yeah.
It's all different.
I may have to sign up for a class, you know?
I would love that.
I've done some community theater acting, but I always kind of thought I sucked. And so I could probably like learn a couple of things. We only have a minute or two left, but I did want to ask you about Good Morning St. Pete. That's what it's called. Was it a web series? Is it a short film? Remind me, because I can't find it. You need to send me a copy of it.
I know, and we're actually trying to get it on Amazon. We've had some technical glitches. Amazon is very particular about blah, blah, blah requirements when you upload it. So we've been kind of like stuck in that mire. But as soon as we're out of that mire, it will be on Amazon Prime, free for anybody to watch on Amazon Prime. And to answer your question, it is the pilot of a web series. So it's like, 16 minutes long. And there are some entertaining moments. It was really my first, well, no, not exactly. My second directing project, and I wrote it, and we had so much fun filming it. We won awards at local film festivals, so I can't wait for you to see it.
It's a talk show format? Like
It's a
morning
spoof of a
show?
talk show format. So we
Okay.
see stuff that happens in the talk show, and then we see mostly it's really about what happens behind the scenes, because that was my life, like I said, for 10 years. And I took some true stories from what happened to me during those 10 years and put them into the web series.
Like,
So you'll have to guess what actually happened.
The clown makeup and it was all red. I saw that on your reel. Like, what is that?
That was a scene from it. And
yeah, I mean, out of context, Andy, that was pretty friggin' weird. What's this?
Yeah, well, you know, when you see it in context, it'll make more sense.
Right. Oh, I hope I get to see it one of these days. Hey, we're done. Let's plug the website and make sure that people who are interested can get more information. It's Andi Matheny Studios.
So it's either two names, Andi Matheny actingstudios.com, or even shorter and easier, actingstpete.com. So they can find every bit of information there. I also want to do a couple of quick plugs. One of my students put together a concept for a video for Black Lives Matter, and that's currently on my personal Facebook page, but I've made it public so anybody can go see it.
What's your student's name?
I'm sorry?
What's your student's name?
My student's name is John Paul Allen. So he was the one who came up with the concept, and then a local director, Damien Alpazar, shot it with assistance by another wonderful DP and local director, Scott Sullivan. We shot it at my studio. It's very short, but like I said, it's on my Facebook page and anybody can see it. And I'm also going to be on Facebook Live this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, talking to another one of my students about acting. So we're going to do kind of like this semi-regular talk show on Facebook Live.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And your personal website is andimatheny.com.
Yes. So if you want to see all the old monk scenes and all that kind of stuff.
And the red guy with the clown makeup on.
Well, that's actually in my more recent reel. But yeah, if you want to see Zoe 101 or Monk, you can do.
Yeah, there are several reels there. And it's sort of a couple of them. I was like, wow, I really like the. Okay, that's not working. This is why I'm not an actor. Okay. Listen, Andy, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, Bill. It's always great talking to you. And let's do this again.
All right, man. Give my best to the old man.
I will.
See you guys soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.